Hey folks, Dr. Tom McNamara back here for our course in trigonometry. In this video, we're actually using the document camera because I want to show you a couple things on the calculator. So the key ideas for this video, I want to go over degrees and minutes. We're dealing with these trigonometric functions. The input for our trig function is an angle, and degrees are one way to measure an angle, and minutes is like another order of magnitude. Okay, so 360 degrees, that is one complete revolution. Sixty minutes is 1 degree. Okay, so 60 minutes gives you 1 degree. The second key idea is we are going to talk about conversion to decimal degrees. So if we have an angle measurement given to us in degrees and minutes, say 62 degrees, 45 minutes, and we want to use our calculator to compute the trig functions, we're going to need to convert that into a form that the calculator can use more readily, and that will be the decimal degrees. Okay, let's just do a couple quick examples of working with degrees and minutes. Okay, so let's start with something like this. Add 39 degrees, 27 minutes, and 65 degrees, 36 minutes. Okay, so we're going to take this angle and add this other angle. Now, of course, the way to make sense of that is, let's imagine we rotated through an angle of 39 degrees, 27 minutes, and then from that position we're going to rotate further 65 degrees, 36 minutes. What's the total angle that we've rotated through? Would be the sum of these two angles. Okay, now this isn't too hard here. I would begin by adding each component separately. So 39 plus 65 degrees, and then 27 plus 36 minutes. Okay, so 39 plus 65 is 104. Okay, so that's 104 degrees. Now 27 plus 36 is 63 minutes. Okay, now one thing I'm going to note right here is that the value in the minutes, that should be less than 60. Okay, it's just like with time. Okay, you wouldn't say that movie took 2 hours, 63 minutes. Right, that's kind of weird. We've already gone to hours. 2 hours, 63 minutes. We would say 3 hours, 3 minutes, right? So if you've gone over 60 in this part, what you need to do is take 60 of those away and add 1 over here, right? Because 60 minutes equals 1 degree. So this really should be written 105 degrees, 3 minutes. Okay, now on my calculator, you'll notice I have some buttons here for the trig functions, right? I've got my sine, my cosine, my tangent. Okay, so your calculator can take an angle and give you at least a decimal approximation for the value of the trig function at that spot. Okay, so let's actually do a little check here. Find sine 30 degrees. Now, this is something we know how to do. We did it in the last video, actually. 30 degrees is one of our special angles. 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, radical 3 goes by the 30. There's a 1, there's a 2. The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So it should work out that sine 30 degrees is 1/2. Now on this calculator, here's the way I have to enter that. I enter the 30 first, and then I press the sine button. It gives me 0.5. Now, this is more of an old-fashioned scientific calculator. If you have a calculator that looks more like this, and this technique applies to any calculator that will display more than one line at a time. Okay, notice it's got my top line for the input, bottom line for the output. Here I would actually hit sine 30. Don't forget to close your parenthesis, it's just good habit. Okay, so sine 30 degrees equals 0.5. Okay, so we can use our calculator to compute this stuff here. So the question becomes, how do we do that if we have an input that is in degrees and minutes? So let's look at this example here. Evaluate cosine 46 degrees 15 minutes. Okay, so step 1, we're going to convert 46 degrees 15 minutes to decimal degrees. Okay, we're going to convert 46 degrees 15 minutes to decimal degrees. Now, let's think about this here. 15 minutes, that is part of 1 degree. Well, how big of a part? It's 15 out of 60. Okay, so we take the number of minutes, put that over 60. And on our calculator, we can see that, right, if I take 15, divide by 60, I get 0.25. So this is 46.25. So these are the decimal degrees. All right, and then once we've got that, I'll take 46.25, and then I'll hit the cosine button on my calculator. So cosine of 46 degrees 15 minutes is approximately 0.692. One more thing to note here, make sure your calculator is in degree mode when you're working these problems. It should say DEG somewhere on the screen. Notice mine is right there. If it doesn't, hit this button to cycle through the different modes. You should have degrees, radians, and that other grad mode. We'll be in degree mode. Okay, notice this calculator. You can see degree right there. That's also in degree mode. Alright, so now our calculator can only give us an approximation. This is not the exact value of 46 degrees 15 minutes. The only times I would ask you for an exact value is when we are dealing with a special angle, like we discussed in the last video. Okay. Let me do one more thing on my calculator. Let's try this one. Let's try cosecant 61.2 degrees. Okay, cosecant of 61.2 degrees. So we've already got decimal degrees, so that's great. The only problem is, I'm looking at my calculator, I got a button for sine, cosine, tangent. I don't have a button for cosecant. What we're going to do is we're going to use an identity. Okay, cosecant, we remember from our reciprocal identities, is the reciprocal of sine. So sine and cosecant are related. So here's the way I would do it on this calculator. I would take 61.2, figure out the sine, and then take the reciprocal of that number. Notice I hit that button right there, 1 over x. That gives me the reciprocal. So cosecant of 61.2 is approximately 1.141. Okay, so you got buttons for sine, cosine, and tangent. Using the identities that we have talked about in previous videos, you can get the values of the other trig functions. Okay, so just a couple of things to summarize here. If you've got something in degrees and minutes and you want to get decimal degrees, you put the minutes part over 60. So for example, if I had 64 degrees, 45 minutes, I would do 64 degrees plus 45 over 60, and then I do the arithmetic and get 64.75. Okay. If I've got the decimal degrees, I can go backwards. And here's what I do. If I take the decimal degrees, let's say 27.25 degrees, this is equal to 27 degrees. Now 0.25, here's how I get the degree part. I do 0.25, multiply that by 60. Okay, 0.25 is 1/4 of a degree. Right? And in minutes, well, 60 minutes is 1 degree, so I take 1/4 of the 60. 0.25 times 60 is 15, so this is 27 degrees, 15 minutes. Okay, so if we have a quantity in degrees and minutes, we can convert it to decimal degrees, and we can also go backwards if we need to. This is probably the more useful of the two directions, because if we have an angle measurement in degrees and minutes, and we want to approximate the value of the trig functions, using the features on our calculator, we need to go to decimal degrees. And then we can use our the trig functions on our calculator to help us out.